Hi, everyone. Welcome to Federal Resumes. We're going to get started right now. Let me just say my name is Nancy Quinn, and I want to welcome you to the webinar. Thank you for coming. I want to mention to you before we get started that we work with an organization called Tailored for Success. And Tailored for Success has free professional clothing, corporate-sponsored professional clothing, and excuse me, and they're located in Cambridge at the Career Center, and they're located in Woburn at the Career Center. If you want to get some help with some clothing for your career, you can send an email to ehart@tailoredforsuccess.org and ask for an appointment and let her know that the Career Center referred you, and she'll set up an appointment for you either in Cambridge or Woburn, whatever is better for you. As far as Woburn is concerned, they're open here in Woburn on Wednesday between 9 and 12, so you can just drop by. They don't have drop-by hours in Cambridge at this point, but in Woburn you can drop by any Wednesday between 9 and 12 to get some assistance putting together an outfit. It's for men, it's for women, it's for everything. It could be a suit, it could be just a dress shirt, could be a pair of pants, could be shoes, could be a scarf. They've got everything. It's a beautiful little organization with a lot of things to offer. So think about how well you dress is very important on a job search. Okay, so my name's Nancy Quinn, and I have worked in career services for over 15 years. And I say over 15 years because of ageism. You definitely want to go back 15 years on your resume. You want to go back 15 years on your LinkedIn account. You want to talk only about the last 15 years. That's for everybody. So no matter how old you are, 15 years, as far back as you go, okay? Mass hire is where my passion lies, helping people convey their value. I find that adults have a really hard time talking about value, and that's something that's really important right now in the job search. I've been in your shoes. I've been laid off 3 times, fired once, and it never gets any easier. It's a difficult experience, so I understand how you feel. I understand what you're going through. I have been there, and I know how bad it can be. But just keep in mind, the best thing about unemployment is that it's temporary. Absolutely temporary. Okay, we're going to communicate by chat today. So if you're in the live version of this, we're actually recording this so that you can watch it later on YouTube if you want to. I'll show you at the end how to access our YouTube channel. I'll also be sending this out to all the live participants today. I'll send out the presentation so you'll have everything in hand. Okay, so for questions and comments, if you're on a laptop or a desktop, we're going to use the chat button. Just click on the chat button or the Q&A button. Either one is fine. When we're done with the presentation at the end of the hour, I'm going to mention to you that we're all done and it's okay to sign out. That's when you sign out with the red button. And you probably know this, but there's always somebody new. Click the CC button if you want closed captioning. You can see the transcription. You can also change it to another language if you'd like to. If you're coming in by a handheld device, a mobile device, to access controls, you go to the 3 dots, and then you go to the advanced section, then you go to the Q&A section, and notice that there won't be a chat available. They only have Q&A on handheld devices for some reason. You go to the advanced section for closed captioning, and you go to the WebEx Assistant for closed captioning if you need that as well. Okay? So that's our communication mode while we're here today. Here's our agenda. What it is we're going to do. We're going to talk about resources, and I'm going to give you a lot of resources. At the end, I give you a page or 2 of resources, actually a couple pages of resources. We're going to talk about what to expect. We're going to talk about, are you eligible for certain jobs and how to find out if you are. We're going to talk about sections of the resume. We're going to talk about self-assessment, how important that is for a federal resume. It's important for all resumes, but particularly important for a federal resume. We're going to talk about federal qualification standards, how to track your job. We're going to look at a sample job ad, and I'm going to give you a sample resume as well, plus a link to information about how to pull together your resume, as well as how to job search. Okay, so a couple of things I want to go over before we get started. Okay, The thing about federal resumes is they can be up to 5 pages long. Federal resumes actually go back as far as you need to go back to actually talk about the topic at hand. If you're applying for an accounting position and you had an accounting position in 1982, they want to see 1982 on your resume. That's different from a regular resume. You get credit, you get points, you get scored, you get credit for every time that you worked as an accountant if it's an accounting job. You'll get credit for being a recent accountant, you'll get credit for being an accountant in 1987. So you want to go back as far as possible and include any relevant experience relevant to the new job. Okay, we're still doing it a reverse chronological. We're still starting off with our most recent job first and going backwards, but keep going back to the additional jobs that are relevant. Okay, how do you sign up? Well, you can job search on USA.gov. You can also sign up for an account on USA.gov. So that's the first place you want to go to look for jobs. They have a lot of qualifiers in there, which is fantastic. So you can get very specific about what you're looking for. Keep in mind that only 20% of the jobs for the federal government are in Washington. 80% are elsewhere, and they're all over the place. So you'll be able to take a look by location, by category, all kinds of different qualifiers. It's really a good system. So you go into usajobs.gov, you create an account like every other place you create an account. Don't forget to write down your password and all that good stuff. And then you search for jobs, and their search is just like Indeed or Monster, just like all the others. They have different kinds of qualifications and qualifiers, but basically it's the same type of thing. There's really nothing scary about it. The thing you want to remember is, okay, you get in there, you find a job. There's a lot of work in developing a resume for a federal job. Applying for a federal job and building a federal resume is a unique experience. They consider your resume your application. They ask for more things on your resume than a traditional resume would ask for. In the beginning, when you first sign up, it can take days to actually apply for one job because of the things they want on your resume. I've been through this process once. I worked for the IRS for a short period of time. So I understand it's frustrating. They take a long time to decide because they don't use an ATS system. They use people to judge your resume. They're still using committees to judge resumes. Most important thing I want you to remember from this webinar, if this is all you remember, it'll serve you well. Read position completely. Don't just read the duties and the salary and apply. There's a lot of valuable information in the job ad. We had a different workshop last week called Federal Job Search, where we got into the actual job search part of the presentation. We're not going to do that today because now we're building the resume. But you can take a look at our website, look at our old presentation, and that'll give you some insight about the federal job search as well. So your resume is going to go before boards of review that will rate you and match your accomplishments to their needs. If you match them well, and if you are clear about what it is you can do for them, you are going to move along in the process. If you send the same old resume to every job, you will not get very far. You need to tailor the resume to the job ad. That means you have to sprinkle the different words from the job ad onto your resume for the specific job you're going for. Okay? You change the resume every time you send it to different jobs. You must be clear, and you must have the qualifications that they're looking for on the resume. Not just a list of what you did, but how did you do it? Why did you do it? When did you do it? What was the result? We call them CAR-PAR statements or CAR-STAR statements. CAR-STAR. Take a look at those when you have some time this afternoon or later. Again, be sure you're eligible for the position based on their requirements, but if you leave out any data, you'll be rejected. So you have to be very thorough with the federal government. Your application is considered part of your resume. They count spelling, they count grammar, they count everything. Absolutely everything. On the resume, you'll need your full name. They still want your mailing address. Now, on a traditional resume, you don't need a mailing address anymore. On a federal resume, you need a mailing address because they actually might mail you something. Okay, they want your day and evening phone numbers. If you have one phone number, you put one phone number on there. If you actually have two phone numbers still, you list both numbers on there. They would like both. Country of citizenship, most federal jobs require United States citizenship. Each job will tell you. That's the thing I want you to understand. People have questions about all kinds of small things on federal job search. If you thoroughly read the job ad, it'll tell you everything you need to know about that job. That's why you have to read every one of them, because they're all different. They all contain similar information, but the information is different. And you want to get used to reading them thoroughly. Job information could include an announcement number, and it always does. You always want to remember the announcement number because they want that on your resume. The title and grade of the job for which you're applying. It's all listed in the job ad. None of those things are actually required on a traditional resume, but they may appear in a traditional cover letter. They're looking for your personal information. They want on your resume the job announcement number, and they will ask you if you are born male before 1959. I'm sorry, after 1959. If you're registered for selective service. If you're not sure if you registered for select service, it's SSS, like select.gov. And you can go in with your social security number and find out if you have already taken care of that. Selective service. They may check your fingerprints if they hire you. They just may do that. They want your previous employer's addresses and phone numbers on the resume. You never do that for a traditional resume, but you do it for a federal resume. You need to have your previous employer's addresses and phone numbers. Now, if they've gone out of business, okay, you have to put that down there. Put the last place that they were established so they'll know where to go to find the records, but put closed. Your citizenship, generally it's required that you're a U.S. citizen, but if you read the individual job ads, they'll tell you if there's anything other than that. An SF-50 is a form that you fill out if you worked for the government previously. If I were applying for a new job with the federal government, I would get an SF-50 for my time that I served in the IRS. So again, with all of these things I'm talking about, later on you can go on and Google them. Google what is an SF-50 for the federal government, and it'll explain it to you in more detail. It's basically a record of when you worked, how you worked, where you worked, and the levels that you worked at. Okay, so it's a form that's required, and then the idea about it, what makes it a good thing is you get credit for the time that you worked previously for the federal government. And the whole thing is about getting credit for everything that you've done that's applicable to the new job. And this is what an SF-50 looks like. Again, don't worry about it right now. You can Google it, fill it in. I'm going to give you contact information for the federal government to get the details, so you'll have all of that. Just know that you need one if you've already worked for the federal government. Now, when you apply for the job, be ready. You're probably going to be asked to complete a self-assessment questionnaire about the topics on your resume. It's a screening tool they use to see if you have the basic skills they're looking for. If you don't pass the self-assessment questionnaire, you don't move on any further. It's really important. The thing you want to remember about the self-assessment questionnaire is you can look at it ahead of time, and you can practice it, and you can think about it, and you can research it in your mind and get a great answer. It will be multiple choice, but you can take time to think about it, to figure out how to answer the questions properly. It's a statement basically of your skills as they relate to the job that you're applying to. Generally, it's multiple choice. Each department develops their own questionnaire based on their needs. So the questionnaires will be based on the job you're applying for. It'll be right in the job ad. There'll be a hyperlink that says, go to the questionnaire and fill that out. You click on the hyperlink, takes you right to the questionnaire. The federal government has done a tremendous job in improving this particular process. I started doing this about 8 years ago, and it took days and days to get through the information. They've really fixed it, so it's a lot easier than it used to be. And they give a lot of good resources. So as much as I'm saying it takes a couple of days to do it sometimes, it's worth the time and effort. This is a sample questionnaire. Again, they come in 2 different ways. There's a written out form. There's a multiple choice form. And again, you just fill it out. Basically, if you want to, you can Google an SF 1203 FX for the federal government and look at it in more detail if you like to. Now, people say, I want to put together my resume and I want it to be strong. Okay, you need it to be strong. You need to explain. You need to tell stories. Your resume used to be a list of what you did. I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. Now it has to say, utilized interpersonal skills to develop workshops and deliver them to thousands of unemployed individuals, assisting them in reemployment. You have to talk about, what did you do? What was the point? What was the result? They're called CAR statements: challenge, action, and result. STAR statements: situation, action, and result. Some people call them PAR statements: problem, action, and result. They're also called accomplishment statements. So when you put these together, people say, well, I don't know how to write these. I don't know what to do. Take a look at ONET Online right here on the screen. This is a wonderful place that you can go and you can get verbiage written by the federal government, because this is their website. In the top right, if you see that oblong occupation quick search button up there, you type in the name of your job, you click in there, and it'll come up with pages of information about knowledge, skills, and abilities for every job that you've had. You do them one by one. You take the information off of ONET and you write up your resume with some powerful information. Okay? So use ONET. ONET is a fantastic resource for all kinds of things for job search. It's amazing what's in there. It's a federal government website about job search. All kinds of things in there. But at the minimum, use it for the occupational quick search so that you can get terminology that you can use right on your resume, right off of ONET. It's written by the federal government, so it's written the way they want to see things written. It's like a big hint. And what'll happen, this is a little fuzzy, but when you go in, you'll see they have a list of the knowledge that you need, the skills and the abilities, and you can take it and utilize it just like that on your resume. Now, when you apply for a federal job and you open up your account, they have something called a resume builder. And some of the offices that you apply to might say, we want you to use the resume builder. And you basically formulate your resume in a Word document and copy and paste it into the resume builder. It's a function in the system. You can keep one resume in there. You can go back in, you can change it, as you should change it for every job you apply to. Be sure before you go into the resume builder that you've already built your resume in Word or some other form, so you don't sit there and think about it. It times out. Okay, so first prepare your resume separately, go into the resume builder, copy and paste it in there. You can also store 4 other resumes in your account as well. So you can have multiple resumes in your account. Now, this is a sample of a resume that the federal government likes. And if you look at that description, you would never do that on a civilian resume. A civilian resume, you write 5 bullets and that's it. You never write a paragraph. Well, on a federal resume, they like information. They like details. I have to tell you, there's one thing they like is they like people with experience. So if you are over 30 over 40, over 50, over 60. They like experienced people in the federal government. You need to be sure to convey your experience on the resume so they understand your value. So take a look at this. At the top, it says last name, first name, address, state, city, zip code, mobile phone, evening phone, email address. Make sure you have a professional email address. Do not use AOL as an email address. Do not use Yahoo as an email address. Do not use Hotmail as an email address. You want to use anything other than that, including Gmail. That's where you can go to get a free account if you need to, is you can go to Gmail. Make sure it's professional. Underneath that, it says country of citizenship, United States of America. Veterans preference. Again, this is something we talked about more in the past class. If you're a veteran, you get 5 points extra on your score because you are a veteran. And you need to note that on your resume. If you're not a veteran, you leave that off your resume. Registered for selective service. Yeah, I'm going to be sharing everything. I'm going to be sending everything out to you so you'll have a copy of this. And you can look at it and glean it and kind of check it out top to bottom. So basically, I don't need you to read this. What I want you to see is the overall setup of what a federal resume looks like. Availability, job type, they want permanent job. Work schedule, they want full-time. Desired locations, U.S. Florida, U.S. Washington, Seattle. Work experience, again, what's different about work experience, if you look to the right, it says salary, $48,321 per year. They need your past salary. You can check with your Social Security records to find out what your salaries were. You can guesstimate them, but they want to know your salary, your yearly salary on your resume. Something else that's different about this, and that's what I'm pointing to, the last line of that paragraph says contact supervisor, yes. Supervisor's name is Kelly Williams, supervisor's phone, and they list the telephone number. You need to find that information. You need to track down your old supervisor, get the last phone number that you had for them, try to find a current phone number for them, track them down through LinkedIn, find them. You need to have that information from the federal government. That's what's different about a federal resume. In addition to the fact that they want the details, like the ones listed here, they want a lot of information. The more the better for the federal government, which is unusual. It's the opposite of a traditional resume. Here's the second page. Again, education, they want to know your GPA. They want to know how many semester hours you went, because you get credit for the number. Strangely enough, they do it that way. So you want to list in there, this says University of Maryland, College Park, Maryland, bachelor's degree with your graduation date, 175 semester hours, major human resource management, GPA, honors if you have them. Someone said, what would you do if a manager from a prior job is now infirm? Well, I would contact the company, get their HR information, get the connection to human resources from the company that you work for and provide them with that information instead. Job-related training, list all the training that you have that relates to the new job. All the certifications, you get credit by certification, you get credit by college degree, you get credit for everything that you've done that relates to the new job. Languages, you always want to put them on there if you have them. If you don't have them, you leave it off. Affiliations, this person is part of the Society for Resource Management, the International Association of Business. Okay, if you belong to organizations, put them on there if they're professionally related. They want your references right on your resume. So you have to figure out how to contact the last company that you worked for. Again, if your manager is not available for whatever reason, get a hold of the information about HR, get a contact name in HR, call the company, track them down if you have to, look on their LinkedIn site, find someone they could contact to find out about your employment at the company. So the references, they have the name of the person, their phone number, their email address, and their reference type. Is it a professional? You should use professional references. Again, a reference, basically you want to talk to them ahead of time, find out if they're willing to be a reference for you, fill them in on what you are applying for. Strangely enough, if you keep looking, it says additional information, knowledge in the regional level application software. And underneath that, it says typing speed, 55 words per minute. Yes, the federal government still wants to know. If you know, if you don't know, leave it off. But if you know how many words per minute, put it on your resume. Okay, so it's different. It's much more detailed. As I said, it could run anywhere from 5 to 8 pages long. Depending on how much you have to say, that's relevant. You want to show the last 15 years of your career, plus anything before that, anything that's relevant to the new job before 15 years, prior to 15 years, put it on your resume under the experience section. Again, someone said, what do you do if a past company was bought by a recent company? Get a hold of the recent company's HR people. They need a contact place to call to verify your employment. So get a hold of human resources in the company that bought the old company. Get confirmation, get information about connecting with their human resources for verification. For whatever reason, if you can't get a hold of the original company, find out who currently runs it, owns it, and get their information. Now, the resume can be flexible. You don't have to put everything in the same order. Someone said 15 years is for something relevant 20 to 25 years ago. Do you include it? Is it okay to skip the years if it shows a gap? You can skip years before the 15 years, yes. You can show gaps before the 15 years, yes. You can finish up 15 years ago and then go back to 1982 because that's the last time you were an accountant. And you would list that as your next position. You could call it additional experience, make it a separate section. But it's okay to go back. That's the thing that's different about this. Okay, make sure your contact information is thorough. Be sure you put in all the pieces that they're looking for. And again, be detailed. Ask them, anything they ask for, give them to them. They want a summary of your information, not an objective. We used to write objectives on resumes. No one cares anymore. What people want is what you can bring to them. What do you bring to them? What do you bring to them? Now, someone asked a good question. We only include relevant career experience, not our part-time retail work. No. For the past 15 years, you provide all your experience. For the past 15 years, you provide all your experience the way you always do. In addition to that, you can add on relevant experience. So I'm sorry I didn't make that clear. So for the past 15 years, you put what you always do on a resume, and then you add extra things that may be older than that. They're allowed on a federal resume. Okay? Again, you start off with a summary of what you bring. You have a skills section that would match the job ad. You have an education certification section. You can move these around. They don't have to be in a certain order. Whatever's more important goes to the top. Your work experience, personally, I always put that above the education. That's my choice. Okay, someone said, can one front the most relevant work experience? I don't know what you're asking. I apologize. I don't know what that means. Projects, any projects that are relevant? Any volunteer work that shows you give back to the community, you want to put on your federal resume. And you can move these pieces if you need to show something that's very powerful at the top. You can move your skills to the bottom if they're not very important on the job ad. You can move them to the very top if they're very key in the job ad. Okay, and here's another example of how to put together your contact information. Again, this is, don't put the word example. I put the word example there. You don't put that there. Someone asked me that once. Andrew Fisher, 561 Lake Avenue, Alexandria, Virginia, with the zip code, the day phone, the evening phone, the Gmail account, the citizenship, the position. You get that number right off the job ad. Veterans preference, yes, 5 points because he's a veteran. His DD 214, that's the form that shows that you were discharged from the service. It's called the DD 214. If you've been in the service, you know about it. If you've never been in the service, you probably never heard of it. DD 214. Okay, so that's the top of your resume. Work experience, again, any information, paid and non-paid work experience relating to the job for which you're applying. And I keep saying that because I want to get that point across, and I hope I'm getting it across clearly. Again, you want to put all of your experience for the last 15 years so they can see what you've been doing. Okay, so this person clarified saying, I have accounting experience from the last century that I would like to highlight since the experience would be more relevant to the job. Okay, absolutely. You can put that at top. You can put under your skills section, related experience, and go right into the related experience. And then underneath that, put in your experience for the past 15 years. Yes, you can move the order of your experience. Absolutely. Great question. And again, if you don't want to do what you've done recently, keep it on your resume. Make it brief. Make it very, very brief. I worked at the IRS. I wouldn't work there again if you paid me in gold bricks. It wasn't the job for me. So I put very minimal information about that on my resume because I don't want to do that again. I don't take it off because I want to show I worked there. But as far as a regular resume, I minimize it. Okay, and go back, like I said, doesn't matter how old it is. If it's relevant, you can pull it in, call it relevant experience. Be accurate. You can have approximately 1 page if you need to. Now, don't fill it full of junk. Make sure that what you put in there is viable information. Take out bullets that don't matter to the new job, but leave in bullets that do matter. Key it and focus it on the new job experience. Okay, again, they want a job title. If it's a federal job, include the series and the grade, and that's listed right at the top of the job. It's listed very clearly. Someone said you still include military service even if you're not claiming veterans preference. Yes, I would include it. You get credit for both parts. List your duties and accomplishments in a bullet format or in a paragraph format. Either one works for a resume for the federal government. Your employer's name and address, phone number as well. Supervisor's name and phone number. Again, you're never going to put that on a traditional resume, but you're always going to put that on a federal resume. They want the starting and ending dates, the months and years. Maybe you have to go back to Social Security and get your record. Maybe you're going to guesstimate. Maybe you know the dates. They like you to use the format 05 for May 2018, 2022, 1987, whatever it may be. 2 digits and then 4 digits. They want the month and the year because you're getting credit for the amount of months you worked in a certain organization. Again, it's old school, but it's the way they do it. They want to know how many hours per week you worked in a particular company. And that's the amount you were paid for. We all work more than the 40 hours, but was it based on a 40-hour week, a 35-hour week? That's what they want to know. Salary, again, they want to know if you were paid hourly, put the hourly salary. If you were paid annually, put the annual salary there. Either one. If you were part-time, you might want to put the part-time salary there. Someone asked if you need to list months or years on volunteering. You don't have to. If the volunteering was in the past, I would leave the dates off. If the volunteering is current, I would leave the dates in. Okay. All right, great questions. Education section. Be careful in the education section. If you went to college for 3 semesters, make sure you put it on your resume. You get credit for any coursework you have taken, any coursework. So like it says, you have up to 2,000 characters describing your education, relevant coursework, licensures, and certifications. Include dates and number of hours attended when applicable. 3 semesters, figure out, call the school, find out how many hours that was. Put it on the resume. Take credit for partial education. I didn't finish my degree, someone said to me once, and that's okay. No, someone asked if you can use the workshops. No, you wouldn't use MassHire workshops, not at all. Someone asked if contract lists both the contract firm and the company where you were placed. Yes. If it's a contract, list both things. List the company name that placed you there and the firm where you were placed. Absolutely. Great questions. Someone asked clock hours versus semester hours for education. They would take either. They would take either. Someone said if we're entering an hourly pay rate from the 80s or 90s, can it be our best recollection or does it need to be exact? It can be your best recollection. If you want it to be exact, you can go to Social Security and find out. Totally up to you. Okay, list your high school. Even if you went to college, list a name, city, state, zip code, the date of your diploma or your GED. Make sure they see that you completed your primary education. List your major. List any type, any years of any degrees. If no degrees were earned, list the hours you went to school. Asterisk at the bottom says send a copy of your college transcript only if the job vacancy asks for it. Don't send anything they don't ask you for. If they ask you for a transcript, send it. If they ask you for a cover letter, send it. If they say a cover letter is optional, you always want to do the cover letter. They will give you a link to show you what they want on the cover letter. They will give you a link in the job ad to link you to how you should set up your resume. It's very thorough. That's why I keep saying, read the whole job ad. These job ads go on for 4 to 8 pages. They're not a typical paragraph or 2. They go on for 4 to 8 pages. Read everything. Veterans, again, if you served in the military and you were discharged under honorable conditions, you may be eligible for a veteran's preference. You must present the DD-214, which is a release or discharge from active duty. If disabled, you need to already have been awarded a DD-15. And again, if you're in the military, you'll understand what all that means. They will add 10 to 15 points to a disabled vet score. Okay, and then basically the rest of that is details about that. Someone said, would it be helpful to include graduate courses for teaching that are not complete, but you don't want a teaching job? Yes. Education is education as far as they're concerned. Put down all your education certifications. you get credit for having attended education. Any awards that you might have, put them in there. Honors, accomplishments, honor societies, leadership activities, performance awards. And if you've held a federal job, highest civilian grade rate. Someone said patents, even if not relevant. I would add that, yes. I would add that. You want to show them all your greatest accomplishments. All the things you've accomplished that you could get credit for, including awards. So there may be 40 elements, 40 pieces you're asked for on a resume, like specific duties, accomplishments, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Sometimes you may have to repeat the same thing over and over in the different jobs on your resume. That's okay to do because you get credit for it. Don't be concerned with repeating things on your resume for a federal job. Use a 12-point font and use that month and year the way they like it. 12 for December, 01 for January, 02 for February and on. And the year, 4 digits for the year. Okay, so 2 digits for the month, 4 digits for the year. That's the way they like it to be done. Okay, this is what the job looks like. Now you can see where you would be tempted to hit that button that says apply. Don't do it. Don't hit the apply button yet. Read it through first. Set up your resume the way you think it should be set up. Then go back and apply. Get everything prepared ahead of time. Okay? All right. Here, are you open to taking the job? You have to look where it says this job is open to, and you need to look for military if you're military, civilian if you're civilian, general public they call it. You can Google this job is open to for federal jobs, and you can get a list of the different qualifications, the different categories that they have. This one shows a little double arrow. That's career transition people. That's people that are already in federal service. The circle with the circle and the circle inside is internal to the agency. It means current federal employees of the agency can apply. Nowhere there does it say anything about the general public, so you could not apply for this job. It's very important that you take the time. If you notice on the very bottom, it says duties. A description of the business unit can be found at. You should look up the business unit to be comfortable with their terminology, so you can include some of that on your resume. There's an overview, accepting applications. This again, these dates would be current. It shows you the dates it's open. Let's just pretend that this says April 8th, 2022 to April 21st, 2024. You have till midnight on the last day to submit your application. It gives you a salary listing. It's based on experience within that job. The pay scale, the federal government has 15 ranges. This is 13. And then beneath it, it shows the different locations where the job's available. Everything's very straightforward. Very, very straightforward. Read everything. Take the time to go click on the links that they give you. Read about the job. Read about the organization you'd be applying to. Know everything you can about them. It's vitally important. Again, it'll talk about telework, whether or not you can have it. Is travel required? Do they have relocation expenses? What appointment type it is? Is it temporary? Is it permanent? Is it contract? What is it? Someone said, do federal jobs start at the lowest step in pay? It depends on your experience level. If you have an experience level that's in the middle of the grade, you'll get the middle of the grade. It depends on your experience and how it matches their form. Service is competitive. Most jobs for the federal government are competitive. Those are the ones you'd be interested in. And again, it's a level 13. All of this stuff is in there. Read it. The announcement number is going to be very, very important. Make sure you take the announcement number off there and put it on your resume. It makes them easy. Everything for them needs to be easy. Okay, this shows you how to apply, and it tells you have until midnight. Right in the middle, very important. To preview the application questionnaire, please click on the following link. I mentioned they may ask you some things ahead of time. Click on this and it'll show you the samples. To begin the process, and it tells you how to commit the process. Again, we're not going to read this right now. I'm going to send this out to you. You'll be able to read this when you get this. It's actually better to go online and bring up a real job ad. How you will be evaluated, as I mentioned, it will be by human beings. People, the good old-fashioned way. And to be honest with you, that's why it takes so long for them to reply to your applications. Don't be concerned if you don't hear right away. It takes time. But they will be looking, depending on your job, depending on the job you have, things like decision-making, influencing, negotiating, oral or written communication, organizational awareness, planning and evaluating, project management, writing. Not all of them have all of these, but these are some samples of what they may ask you about. They may ask you about your project management skills. They may ask you about your organizational awareness if you say you have it. They're going to ask you. And again, the page before this showed you where you could go and look at the actual questionnaires. Again, contact section, we looked at this. This is a contact section. Professional profile, this person, instead of a skills section, put in a professional profile. Again, pointing toward the job they're going for. Make sure you make it focus on the job you're going for. Then they get into their experience level, and I mentioned this, they want your salary level, they want your supervisor's name and phone number. And again, if you notice the last line of this says, have had 5 articles were published in national magazines concerning Python implementation and systems integration issues. Brag. Brag about your accomplishments. They're looking for that. How would they know if you don't tell them? Brag. Okay, this person listed a separate section of accomplishments that were relevant to the job. It's okay to do that way. Again, you'll have time. I'm going to send this out to you. You'll be able to read these over when you get it. Basically, let me give you a minute to take a quick look at these. Okay, and again, different sections, different resumes for different industries. Under your education section, this one, again, University of Illinois, Bachelor of Science, magna cum laude, concentration, 128 semester hours. GPA 3.6 out of 4.0. High school GPA. You may have to guesstimate. If you don't have your GPA from high school, just leave it off. You can probably get your GPA off a transcript. Good question. Someone said put down your GPA no matter what it was. If your GPA wasn't great, I wouldn't put it down. No, I would leave it off. It's not mandatory. Very good question. Thank you. Because a lot of people back when they were 18 didn't apply themselves the way they do when they're 30. What would be the cutoff for the GPA? I would say a B. Everything B and above. Look at your college transcript to figure out what the GPA would be for a B and above. I don't know off the top of my head. If somebody knows that, you can put it in the chat. That would be helpful. 3.0, thank you. Okay, we've got some people out there that know what they're doing. Additional training. This is listing the training that was necessary. If I had other training that wasn't relevant to the job, I would list a couple of those here as well, but focus on things that are relevant. Programming languages, spell it out for them. Volunteer work, Animal Rescue Center, downtown Chicago, Illinois. Tech for All, a community initiative to train disadvantaged kids to use and maintain computers. Affiliation, Phi Sigma Rho. Put in everything that shows how you live your professional life. That's what they're looking for. Whew, it's a lot of information. So again, make sure you remember the application process is very competitive. Let me ask you to put in the chat, if you would, why do you want to work for the federal government? What interests you about the federal government? Anybody have, you're obviously here because you want to work for them. Why do you want to work for them? Okay, benefits, possible pension, different type of jobs. Excellent. Job security, interest in the federal government, to give back. Excellent, thank you. Because of all these reasons, it's very competitive. So make sure that you do the resume that's going to highlight exactly what they're looking for. A standard resume won't work. You must reach a specific agency. You must research the specific agency to which you are applying. Men have to register for Social Security, Selective Service is what I'm saying, not Social Security, Selective Service. SSS.gov, you can go in there with your Social Security number and see if you've registered. Include all the documents that they request, but don't give them anything they don't want. If you're hired, there will at least be a background check, if not more. Prepare for yourself 1 to 3 days to complete the first application because of all the details that you have to gather. Your resume will be much longer than usual if you have a lot of experience. Talk about it. Present all the experience that you have. Be very specific about the experience and very detailed, and be patient. It takes time to get federal government jobs. Someone said, I work for the city government and would like to return to the nonprofit sector. Honestly, simply to go to work, do my job, not sell anything, and go home being able to forget about work. Okay, I wouldn't put that in my resume, and I'm sure you won't. So definitely put in everything that you want to do and leave off what you don't want to do. Someone said selective service need to be only if you were born after 1959. Correct. After 1959. But if you click on that when you're in the job ad, it'll explain that to you as well. Why do you have to be registered for selective service? The only thing I can tell you is because they said so. It's the federal government, it's a federal job, and that's a federal requirement that you participate in signing up when you turn 18. So that's why. Okay. Again, look at this guy. He's got to be patient. You got to be patient with the federal government. Outreach at opm.gov is a great place to go for questions. If you have questions, that's how you can email them to get the specific questions answered that you may have. I'm going to give you some resources. Take a look at the resources before you send them a question, because you can probably find the answer in one of the resources that I give to you. Okay, wait 24 hours after you apply and then go back into your USA Jobs account. And you'll see where it is. And this is the way, these are the different sections that they list for you to tell you where you are. Okay, so you can be in any one of these places. All right, here's information, resources. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I think I have a problem with the chat. Let me double check. Okay. Someone said if training was in-house with the previous employer, does it need to be from an institution? It needs to be from an institution, yes. Okay, I think I got everybody. Okay, someone clarified selective service is after, if you were born after January 1st, 1960. January 1st, 1960. If you were born after that, you need to be registered. And if you're not registered, they'll give you information on how you're going to take care of that. Okay, there's the outreach again in red. They have free federal job search webinars that fill up very quickly. Go onto the events section, scroll through it, and you'll see that. Here's information about the Office of Personnel Management, some general help, job search and a blog, a list of government agencies, the list of the different pay grades, information about applying as a veteran, and at the bottom, resume information and a sample resume of a federal resume that you can follow. Okay, so all of this is listed here. If you don't have time and you're watching this separately, just Google. Google will give you all the information that you need about the federal government. Military information, here's resources for those of you who are in the military. The federal application process, I would take time to go to this URL and read this. Again, sign up for the webinars. Scroll through the notification events section. There'll be all kinds of events. They're very strange events, very weird things. You'll think you're in the wrong place. Scroll, keep scrolling till you see the one that you're looking for. Okay, so take a scroll through the registry and you'll find what you're looking for. They have lots of great job search, resume, job hunting presentations. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming. That's everything top to bottom. If you want to see any of our future events, like this upcoming Tuesday is Career Change, second act. We have a career change resume, a career change, and then next Friday is resume. So take a look at our events, sign up for our events.